I don't know much about spaceships.俺はよろずバク。
Hello, everybody! My name is Timberland Star, your favorite Red Ranger that you just don't know yet. That's right, I'm as irrelevant as the concept of justice in 2025, and this is gonna be our second YouTube video! Like and subscribe! Thank you! So, this is a video about a major revelation I had when I posed a question so simple yet eloquent in its nature, and it went something like this. What's the main character's name in Zeztz again? And that's when I got metaphorically rock bottom through a table. Their answer would send me through the looking glass, deep down the rabbit hole, and ultimately leave me forever changed. Their answer! I think it was Baku or something. It might have been a reference to something, I think. Ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary buddies, it was that moment I got sent on a journey that forever changed me. And I can now say for certain I understand all I need to know about Zeztz. You see, Zeztz is Pokemon!
You need to leave!
Now hear me out. Yes, Kamen Rider Zeztz is a Pokemon. Allow me to explain. It was 1996 when the world was forever changed by what would become a marketing behemoth. One IP would rise and prove indomitable amongst all challengers. Many tried to strike down this property with their own unique versions, but their tries would be in vain. Monster Rancher failed. Dragon Warrior monsters obliterated. Digimon straight into the garbage. I actually love Digimon. All valiantly made their grab for the supreme monster racer, but eventually they would each be brought low, some easier than others, by the hands of Pocket Monsters! Pokemon! For a good reason, too. Pokemon was charming, fun, and most importantly of all,
money!
Give me all the toys! When I was a little ember of justice, I absolutely adored Pokemon. I remember the toys, the games, and of course, the anime. However, my first introduction to Pokemon was incredibly unsettling.
ときめきクライシスは絶版だ.
In 1998, I remember seeing my first Pokemon commercial. It was horrifying, yet beautiful in its simplicity. A soon-to-be icon, Pikachu, at a bus stop when an overly enthusiastic man pulls up in his bus. Pikachu's ticket was about to be punched, all right. His ticket. The man opens the door, and with the saccharine grin of a demon, he turns to Pikachu and he says, "Hey, little buddy, wanna ride?" Of course, this was rhetorical, as any unfortunate soul waiting at a stop would no doubt accept. Pikachu, full of innocence, replies with a heartful, "Pikachu!" Such cuteness, however, would be wasted on a soulless monster. The man just responds, "Sure, whatever." He knows this is all a ruse. He knows not to get close. To humanize your prey is to invite room for second guesses, and one cannot afford second guesses when trying to catch them all. It would not take long to discover all was not right with this bus ride. The bus stops, and the bus driver declares with sickly glee that he would be right back. A falsehood. To the horror of all the Pokemon on the bus, they would find themselves in a compactor, being squeezed and compressed until they were all packed into a Game Boy. I remember the desperate thrashes and wiggles of Pokemon, unsure what to do, unsure of their fate, as the bus driver picked up the Game Boy to play at his leisure. He won. Their lives were now his to control. I remember it like yesterday, seeing this commercial. Then it felt like I had just blinked in the first episode of Pokemon aired. Pokemon is no stranger to dark and odd entries. While not necessarily dark, the concept of a monster eating bad dreams is certainly qualified as odd. It is a well-known secret that behind some of the cutest Pokemon designs are sinister, downright diabolical lore. Take Drifloon, for example. Do you see this cute little balloon boy? Do you see those button eyes? Those cute, lifeless black eyes? Eyes that will feed on your children's souls. Eyes that will whisk your loved ones away, lowering them by its strings all the way to Poke-Hell. You see, Drowsy is a psychic-type Pokemon that shares inspiration with Kamen Rider, stemming from ancient mythology, but more on that later.
Drowsy, the hypnotic Pokemon. It is said to feed on the dreams of its opponents. It is also known for its powerful psychic attack.
It has a move called Dream Eater, which is exactly what it sounds like. For Drowsy sustains himself not upon puffins nor Pokekibble, nay, it sustains itself upon the dreams of people. It gets worse. You might even be able to tell that you've fallen victim to a Drowsy's Dream Eater ability if your nose itches. It is implied that the Pokemon will actually suck the bad dream out through your nose holes. Ah, gross. So, was this just an example of Game Freak making something crazy up for funsies? No. The connective tissue between Drowsy and Kamen Rider is further explained when discussing the mythology of which it originates, the Baku. That's right, we're finally getting there. Baku, an entity that shares the name with the protagonist from Kamen Rider Zeztz. And once we dive more into the Baku, you might see where I'm going with this. The Baku are supernatural entities that devour dreams, in most cases, nightmares. These creatures originated from Chinese folklore named Mo, and according to mythology, they were sort of Frankenstein together from the spare parts that the gods didn't use when creating the other animals. They eventually came to be in Japanese folklore, whereupon they would really solidify the myth's prominence through all sorts of artistic mediums of Japan. So what is Baku though? Apart from its name, what does it have to do with the Kamen Rider Zeztz? Well, Zeztz talk about it! See what I did there? See what I cut that?
Ha ha!
The Baku are entities that feed on people's dreams, most often the bad ones. In fact, per Hadlin Davis F., The Myths and Legends of Japan, there is a legend that if someone wakes up from a nightmare, you can actually call out to the Baku. If you say and repeat, "Baku-san, eat my dreams," 3 times, it will pull a goddamn Candyman and come into your room to garble up your bad dreams. So, what's the significance? First off, the villains of Zeztz are called nightmares, and with the mastery of lucid dreaming and his newfound ability to henshin into Kamen Rider Zeztz, Baku can eliminate the nightmares of people's dreams. There are already glaring parallels, as you can see. However, we can actually take to the folklore and glean some possible future situations that will occur based off of these myths. The same legend that tells of a way to call for aid of the Baku also gives a warning. If you call on it too many times, the Dream Eater won't stop at the nightmares. It will eat your hopes and dreams as well, rendering you a shell of your former self. No ambitions, no desires. You're just an apathetic zombie shambling through your day-to-day, just like me and their job. For real. The reason, in addition to learning this tidbit, that Baku was such a revelation to me was because we just had a major reveal in episode 2 of Zeztz. The second episode focused on the Monster of the Week, Bomb Nightmare. It starts with Baku trying to chase a bomber who has been making police cars explode. But the police are all chasing Agent 7, aka Baku's secret alter ego in his dreams, He tries to fight the bomb nightmare, but ultimately he gets away. Baku, now awake, gets up, tries to sneak around with the Henshin belt, hoping no one notices that he is super conspicuous as he hides it under his shirt. Tetsuya Hujimi, Assistant Inspector of the Public Security Bureau's Paranormal Affairs Division, woo, that's a mouthful, along with the disillusioned partner and resident skeptic Nasuka Nagumo, catches Baku, and Baku just kinda comes clean about it. He doesn't really put much of a fight in hiding his belt, he just kinda shows them. Furthermore, he lets Tetsuya know that he's been having strange dreams and talks about the bomb nightmare. Tetsuya excitedly professes that it's the same dream and leads him to his van where they talk some more, and later that night, Baku hears a voice within his head, Zero. Zero is actually based off of the original Kamen Rider's bike, but personified. I thought the bike looked familiar at first, but it turns out, well, that's why. Zero tells him to open the closet, which leads to Kamen Rider Saber's set. I mean, it's a secret base that has never been seen before. #original. Zero explains that the nightmares invade people's dreams and essentially manifest their worst nightmare to kill the person and take over their body. And we're right back to Pokemon, gang. You see, Zero introduces the concept of capsims using a similar concept, not unlike a certain Nintendo game. I don't want Toei to get sued. Let's just say capsims share the same progenitor to a certain round Pokemonster device. I almost said it. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Anyway, Baku gets his Pokeball power-up, complete with the Pokedex entry, and he's being fitted for the mission. The nature of nightmares are now explained to him. You see, if nightmares are indeed the theme, and Baku is the name of the protagonist, and Baku eats the nightmares, then it's all gotta be connected. It's not an accident. You have to be thinking, gee, Berlin, get to the points. Motifs, themes are common. What does it say? And to that, I say, how dare! Secondly, hit that like and subscribe button, smash that notification bell, and be sure to follow me on Discord and Twitch with the links below. Let's look to the end of the episode. Oh, by the way, spoilers for those who haven't watched this. This is your last warning before I spoil the end of the episode. Whoops! Just as Zeztz is about to fight the entity, it is revealed by Nox that the nightmare is actually born from Tetsuya's lingering resentment of the police force. Nox said, dreams are the reflections of the dreamer's subconsciousness. Dreams are the refuge of wishes left ungranted in the real world. Damn, that haircut is still trash, but those were bars.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Zeztz hesitates to fight the bomb nightmare and the episode ends. But before we continue, let's revisit the legend of Baku. So, what do we know about this creature of myth? Alright, so to recap, if you call out 3 times, it will come into your room and eat your bad dreams. We know that. We also know that if you do so too often, it won't stop at your nightmares, but it will also eat your hopes and dreams. So where do I think this is all going? I think that this is all going to be set up very soon. I think there's going to be a point, if not the next episode, then later in the series, that if Zeztz interferes too much and destroys the nightmare in a certain way, it'll do irreparable damage to the person's dreams, rendering them in that same state of hopeless dreamlessness that we talked about, the Baku, when they eat your hopes and dreams. I think what Nox was warning about isn't really a warning at all. I think Nox is gloating that if Zeztz kills the nightmare, it could lead to his dream dying too. After all, he is fighting Tetsuya's subconscious desires. Maybe it will just stop at destroying his desire to burn the whole precinct to the ground, but I can easily see Zeztz going out of control, taking it too far, and at some point, maybe by mistake, maybe on purpose, destroying not just the nightmare's twisted desires, but the victim's normal ones as well. So this power will have consequences. There is something darker at play here, and I feel like the over-reliance on this power will reveal its darker secrets. We need not look too far to see the signs. Let's look at his design. It at first does give basic notes of Ichigo's Kamen Rider, but at a closer look, the design has some darkness to it. Even the Henshin is thick with this miasma of darkness surrounding Baku. There are powerful things at work granting him this power. Looking at his helmet even, his antenna at a second glance appears to be more horned-like. It almost gives an allusion to another franchise called Devilman. It made me wonder if there's some connective tissue between the original author of Devilman and the writer of the first Kamen Rider series. But unfortunately, it looks like Go Nagai, the writer of Devilman, did not actually write for Kamen Rider at any point. He did, however, serve as an assistant to Shotaro Ishinomori, but that was before his major works. So, that's it. Baku is a clever and obvious reference to the mythical creature, which was also the inspiration for Drowsy. Ergo, concordantly, vis-a-vis, Baku is a Pokemon. I'm vindicated. It all adds up. This in no way was an excuse for me to talk about Japanese folklore for fun. Yeah. But hey, that's just a theory.
Just a theory.
Once again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, right or kick that notification bell. Once again, you can catch me on my live streams every Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Sundays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And join our Discord. It really helps us out. My name's Timberland Star, your favorite Red Ranger, and I'm gonna space out. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.